always just whispered under my breath, like, I hate soccer. I hate soccer.
I ended up throwing
Having
like
it
2 innings.
transactional
Just
skills
I
a lot.
will
All that matters is like really getting better in the now.
Okay, let's go.
Welcome to Surviving Youth Sports Podcast, where we dive into real stories behind the wins, the losses, and the lessons that come with raising, coaching, and being young athletes. Now let's get into it. Hi, and welcome to another episode of Surviving Youth Sports. And today, I'm excited because one of the reasons I started doing this podcast is because of people like our guest here, Jason Collinsworth from I Hate Soccer podcast. I love the name. It caught me. Jason, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, guys.
So why do you name the podcast that? I've been dying to ask you this for probably a year.
Okay, so, all right, little background. I've been coaching for 22 years, but for the last 10 years, I've had just my own technical training company, and it's supplemental to what the club provides and everything. And every week, kids would come to me and talk to me about their stories about what happened at club or what their coach did, or I would talk to the parents and they would talk to me about some drama, and I go, and I always just whispered under my breath, like, I hate soccer. I hate soccer. Because it was so predictable, and everything that these kids were going through and these families were going through, it's like, oh, I know exactly what you're talking about, and I know exactly what that coach is thinking, because I still think like a coach, but I see it from the parent side too, and I relate pretty well with the kids, and it's like, I know, like, it just sucks. It was going to be like the Playmaker Training podcast because that was my company, but like, who cares? Who cares about Playmaker Training? And then it's like, you know what? I'm just going to name it I Hate Soccer.
Dude,
and
that's awesome.
And it just caught wildfire. I had a lot of my players starting to commit, and I coached a little bit of college. I coached at University of Detroit for a couple of years, just doing goalkeeping stuff, but I didn't really know the process of recruiting. So what I wanted to do was talk to my college players about their recruiting process. And so I had a couple episodes with some of my college players, and it exploded. And it was like, whoa, like, this people need this. And I had some younger players say, I learned more in that episode with Ella than I ever have from anything from my club or my club coaches. So I'm like, you know what, I'm going to do this. And then eventually I had coaches on and everything, and I just grew from that, and it's wild.
I love it. As a parent that absolutely is in a different sport, which is very different than soccer, I love it. And the thing is, naming it that, I was like, what the heck? Let me just.
Why is it called I Hate Soccer? Why do you hate soccer? I went to MLS Next Fest, and all these kids were like, if you don't like soccer, you shouldn't be here. I'm like, oh my God.
That's funny.
Listen to the show.
Yeah, no kidding. And it's, we're doing something very similar, probably in a little bit broader sense, and we're trying to hit a lot of different sports, but the parallels between the sports are very similar. I mean, there's plenty of baseball players that I watch, and I'm like, oh my God, you're not having any fun. Like, what are you doing, parents? You're like riding your kid in the outfield. This is like a couple days ago at a tournament. They're like yelling at their kid in the outfield. And I'm in the outfield, by the way. Soccer, I don't sit by people either. I'm like over behind the goal, and like
I would hide.
Yep.
I don't have kids, but when I do go to games, you won't know that I'm there.
Yep.
I watch from afar.
I feel like soccer's a very difficult sport, more than some other sports, because, man, you have to work together as a team. And if you don't, it's hard to get noticed. And then you kind of have to be on the right team. But the one thing I've noticed, and this is, I mean, I only have 12-year-olds, right, or my oldest. There's a lot of people that root against each other. And I'm like,
well, that's
dude,
real.
This is awkward. Like, I don't want to hear you root against kids. I just leave.
It's very toxic.
What's that about?
Baseball's not like that.
It's it's a team sport, but it's very individualistic. Like, you can literally, you have a pitcher, you have a hitter. Like, that's very individual, and I'm not saying it's not toxic for different reasons, because trust me, it is. We're at a pre-ECNL deal in Vegas for the Twins, and the California teams were playing, because it was at that big Davis complex. So there's 16 fields. The comments of even other teams, you're like, oh my gosh, this is awkward. Let me just go hide in the corner. Why are you rooting against kids? Then you're talking 12, 13-year-old kids.
Yeah. And then you wonder why there's like fraction within the team, because those parents repeat that on the way home. And then, you know what I mean? Like, they're talking bad about a teammate, and then that kid will treat that teammate so poorly. And if they're saying it if they hear their parents say it, they repeat it to their other friends on the team, and then it's just so toxic. And I don't know where that started. It's something, I think it's because this national culture of our leagues is creating that culture. I think because I don't remember playing in community clubs and community teams. I don't remember that. We never talked bad about another player because I was best friends with them.
Right.
I don't think these kids are friends anymore. They're represented by 12 different school districts.
I think there's so many clubs here, and I'll just use this as an example, where you kind of look at the best players and you go, okay, there's one on that team, there's two on that team, there's three, and like they're all so spread out because there's 100 friggin' teams here. Mm-hmm. I take a step back from like when we used to play when select was real in sports, and like those guys were all on one team coming from a 90-minute radius, and everyone else played for their local teams.
Yep.
And that is so far. I mean, Jason.
Now everything is, it's almost like everybody was so jealous of those big teams that they're like, oh, we could do that too. And then now it's only that. Like in Michigan, where I'm at right now, everybody's buying up everybody else. So there's no small clubs anymore. It's everybody has 8 locations, and if you're 2 hours away and you're an ECNL level player, you just stay in your town, train with your town team, but you have to come and train with us at least once a week. And it's like,
same here.
It's so far gone. And these kids are not friends. A lot of them are not friends because they just talk bad about each other. Me and my space back in Buffalo, where kids, they don't go to school together and they just talk bad about each other because they go to a different school or they live an hour away, and there's so many cliques because, well, the Rochester kids are over here, and then the Buffalo kids are here, and then the Canadians are over here, and the Erie kids are over here, and it's not a team.
Yeah. God. And it's hard. It's not as it's not as toxic in baseball because you can be very individualistic, but I'm okay with people making money in youth sports. I have no problem with it. And you can charge $10 and I can go, man, you're ripping people off because you provide zero value. You can also charge $10,000 and I go, wow, you're doing this and you're doing this and you're doing this. And oh my God. And I'm like, wow, that's a ton of value, man. But when you start talking about clubs taking on more teams, and they got the yellow team and they got the purple team and they got this team and that, and you're like, oh man, they can just go play rec for $190 and they'll be fine because they're not even going to play in high school. It's money.
Coming from a parent, not living vicariously through your kids, because that is definitely happening. But it's also it's a status symbol. People used to drive Mercedes for status. Now they play ECNL. Right. You know what I mean?
Right. I don't know. I've said it a few times on our show, like, my wife and I got to play in front of 10,000 people plenty of times. We don't care. If you want to be great, because you want to be great, we are very lucky to put you in great opportunities to go be great. And that's awesome. And if that's what you want, great. We are here to support, and we want you to fulfill your dreams because that's what we want as a parent. But man, I don't care if you're great. I want you to be a good person, a good teammate. I want you to help people. And we're, again, very blessed. I want you to be a leader, man. I want you to make the world a better place. That sounds really cliche. I'm sure our producer is going to put that into, one of the clips or whatever. But Jason, it's true. I don't see that from a lot of parents, man, in soccer.
I think, okay, so I had a sports psych on last year, and she said that the higher the level that the parents played at, the more hands-off they are with their own kids, development, as well as they let the coach just do their job. And I feel that in my own experience, that I think that is 1,000% true.
Yeah.
Because look at you and your wife, right? And like, you can call out the chaos. Some people can't even call out the chaos. They just say, "This is great. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Look at this facility." Like, you know what I mean? Look at this event.
So we are 4 kids, and they're athletic, and I'm basically an Uber driver a lot of the time after school. We don't go to the practices. We drop off, but I pull up and there's people just on the fence, just watching for an hour and a half. And I'm like, my gosh, you couldn't pay me to do that. You couldn't pay me to do that.
They watch the practices as intently as they watch the games. I mean,
let your kids have independence. And listen, if you're coming from, and some people come from farther, if you've got a 45-minute drive, you're stuck there.
Right.
If you got it, but man, go in your car, go for a walk, like go do something else. You don't need to sit on that fence line.
Right. Does that happen in baseball, or is it just soccer specific?
There's a couple parents that hang around a little bit, but here's a big difference in baseball for my team that I coach, my 12-year-old. 1, I played. 2, I bring in other coaches of former players and college coaches, and our producer comes and helps out, and he played college baseball at a high level, and so there's a little bit more trust there, I feel like. But we also come from 10 of the 12 players come from one city, and most of them go to school together, or there's only 2 middle schools. They play little league. So we're a very, and this is my last year doing it. So it is a lot different than what we're talking about with soccer.
How much is it, just comparing the two sports, how much of it is stats based? Where if you go 3 for 4, I'm not going to rip your kid. But if you let that girl run right by you, I can rip on you because
I would
say subjective. That's what I hate about soccer too. It's so subjective. 2 coaches can look at the same player and think completely different things. You can't do that with a number 3 hitter or a number 4 hitter.
You're right.
Like you can either hit or you can't.
Yep. And you're nitpicking a lot, and this is why I, not to keep you're gonna leave here with a big ego, not to keep blowing up your podcast, but I'm just trying to learn, man, because soccer is very foreign in terms of what you just said. Because my son, I don't want to talk about my kids too much on this, but is exactly what you just said. Okay, plays left wing, plays striker.
Yeah,
he's left-footed, and he can really run.
Yeah.
Which I I found this out, especially in London, love it because they can't find anyone in the whole country, according to them, that can do it for their national team.
All right.
Which is sort of a joke, but he's not the most technical kid. His touch is a little iffy, but he also plays multiple sports. He plays baseball for two different baseball teams. So he's not putting in as much time and reps playing soccer as other kids. But man, you got some coaches, and my wife even said this to me, that love him, that are like, oh, man, he can play bad for, 29 of the 30 minutes out there. But man, I'll tell you what, you get a ball, he's going to make a cut, and he's going to make another cut, and then he's going to score, and now the game's tied. But 29 minutes, he's lost, or he's given the ball away, and there's some coaches that are like, I'm good. And then there's other coaches that are like, oh, dude, I could care less about the other stuff.
Exactly. You're going to get that one.
Yep. That's all we need. I love him. And you're like, how? If you throw 93 miles an hour with a good breaking ball.
Every everybody's going to love you.
Yep. I'm like, how can, and then, you get into that, and I know nothing. Oh, the formational matter. I'm like, okay, you lost me. Hey, bud, did you have fun? I'm like, cool.
Yeah.
So from your perspective, how it is subjective. Is there any way to get over the subjectivity?
Yes, but it's not going to go universal because not everybody believes in it. And it's Anson Dorrance, North Carolina, tracks everything and found out how to measure technique, right? How can you measure technique, right? So he doesn't coach anymore. He retired, but he's won 20 national titles or something like that. He has a battery of technical tests. How hard can you shoot with your right? How hard can you shoot with your left? And what he wants out of his female players is a combined score of 120 miles per hour. Now, if that's 70 and 50 or 60 and 60, doesn't matter. But he wants 120 miles per hour. And I mean, that is measurable. And for about 5 years in a row, whoever in preseason had the highest score, he'd put up top, and it was their leading goal scorer. Measurable. That's measurable. Another one that he does is a V8. It's a figure eight, or a V8. It's a figure eight, 10 yards. And how many figure eights can you do in 1 minute? And he said that usually the player that got the most figure eights would be the best player. And then he would break it down to where it's right foot only. Okay, and then he'd track every score, and then he'd rank his players, and then left foot only, and then he'd rank his players. And it's a competitive cauldron, and it's measuring technique, and it's a competitive cauldron of like, if you hit this amount of points, he would gamify almost everything. And if you had this amount of points, that means that you got to start, or that you got playing time. But if you didn't hit all these measurables, you're not playing. And that's how we can get rid of the subjectiveness of soccer, I think.
Yeah.
But it's still, there's no stats. I mean, we know goals, and we know assists, and we know shutouts and saves. That's about it. Mm-hmm. But we don't track passes enough. We don't track forward passes. We don't track how many defenders you can put out of the play with passes enough. We don't track blocked shots or blocked passes or blocked crosses. We don't track that enough. And it's just all of that. And it's so frustrating. And then imagine being a parent of, let's say, number 9 to number 14 on the roster. Everybody thinks that they should be on the field at 11v11 because it's so close. Because that from 9 to, so the gap from 1 to 3 could be larger than the gap from 3 to 15. Yeah. And that's what sucks about soccer. I don't know if baseball's like that.
Less so. But because, man, if you're hitting 200, it's really obvious you're hitting 200. You know, like you're getting out a lot. But it's also not as black and white either. There's been guys, and I've coached in college, and ERA is one of the worst stats around for baseball, earned run average. If you're a reliever, I could throw 9 times and throw a scoreless inning. On my 10th time, I could give up 6 runs in 1 inning, and my ERA is terrible. It's a 5, whatever. But I'm really good. Like, I'm throwing scoreless innings left and right. So, there also is subjectivity in baseball too. And I think that the thing that I try to watch for is, man, how hard are you working in soccer? I feel like that is so underrated sometimes. Like, are you just hustling around the field? Like, did you give your best effort? When you lose a ball, do you try to go get it back? Whether you do or not is, sort of, irrelevant to me. And that's just a parent perspective, right? Like, are you like just, and this is what I learned from 11v11. And I'd love your thought on this. You can't hustle around the field all the time. You will be gassed in 10 minutes.
You'll have to get subbed.
Yes.
That's why I like subbing limits, especially at that level, at the ECNL and the MLS Next level and whatnot, and GA, is that you have to learn how to manage the game. You have to learn how to manage your body, or you're getting subbed off.
Correct.
You can't just run wild. But the best youth player I've ever been around, his name's Caleb Stanko. He just retired. He's played in Europe most of the time. He played in like German second league. They were up in the Bundesliga for a little bit, Freiburg. And then he played for Cincinnati in the MLS. What stood out to me when I saw him play for the first time at 13 was it wasn't his technique. It wasn't his goal scoring. It wasn't anything positionally or anything. When he lost the ball, he was embarrassed. It was almost like, you stole the ball from me. And he hunted that kid down, and he would be a little pest until he got that ball back, because he felt like, I'm the best player here. Why am I losing the ball to you? And it was just intense. And that, like you talk about the work rate, that shouldn't be subjective. You should be able to just see it. But like you said, it's 11v11. It's 120 yards by whatever, 65, 70 yards. And it's like, well, I mean, you can't just run yourself into the ground all the time.
Perfect. I'm going to let my son hear you say that and not me or my wife. Because I think, going back to the parent thing, because I do want to talk about coaching and coaches with you. My wife played, right? And same with me in baseball. If you tell him the same thing, Jason, that my wife does, he gonna listen to you. He will not listen to her. If you have an answer to that, I would love to know what it is. And I just think I partially think they want you to just be their parent. They don't want you to be their coach, and I told the twins, the only thing I'm ever going to get upset with you with soccer, because now we're starting to travel, we're starting to do all this other stuff. If you don't hustle, you will not play ECNL. And it has nothing to do with you being good enough. I'm not going to go spend the money.
Right.
Because you don't really care. Like, you don't care. We'll go do something else and you can play, whatever. And that's the only thing. And we normally don't have a problem with it. Like, if you tell me you didn't give 100%, I'm done. We're done.
Mm-hmm.
We're done. But I think they just want you to be a parent. And the tough part is when you play the sport at a high level, it's like, I'm just trying to help you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it is tough. But give me your take on that, because you deal with a lot of parents.
Kids feel like their parents don't know anything either. It's like, dude, I am like 3 times older than you. Why aren't you just especially if they didn't play the sport, like.
Oh,
or it's
for
like,
sure.
I know, or it might be worse if you did play the sports. Like, I know you were a star. I know. I heard that. I remember that story. You know what I mean? So
I do.
I guess, but I don't know. I mean, going back to our parent conversation about living vicariously through, there are some times where I've seen some high-performing parents that do put a little bit too much pressure on, but it's usually in the classroom. They, like anybody that was upset with some of their kids, it was usually in the classroom. But I don't know. That's fascinating to me. You know what I mean? But that's why another reason why I wanted to start the podcast is because there's so much I don't know. And everybody does it, and there's 1,000 ways to skin a cat or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like, everybody does something different. Everybody parents different. Everybody coaches different, which is why this is so complicated.
Yes. And you're in Michigan. I'm in Washington State.
Yeah.
The styles, the amount of teams, take someone in Florida. You can't say, hey, this works in Florida. Well, it's different here and there and there and there. And there's no black and white, guys.
Yeah.
There's not.
I was just talking about talking to somebody about high school soccer, and he was in St. Louis, It's like, well, St. Louis high school soccer is actually like really legit. It's a
Oh,
really good level, and it's so much different than Buffalo, New York, where scores are 21-0 or 13-0,
oof.
and it's bad. It's bad. Don't even get me started on that. But like, I mean, it's wild. How do you as a parent? So hold on. So the Twins,
Mm-hmm.
your daughter is playing on your son's team.
Mm-hmm.
Does he ever get like, dude, go to your own team?
Doesn't bother. Boys are so oblivious too, man, as you probably are well aware.
They don't care, but they also think that they're better, and they think that
Yeah, and he's. I mean, as athletic as she is, if they go 1v1, he like in the county track thing or whatever. He won the mile. He finished second in the 200. Won the 4x200. So he's super fast. So if he's going 1v1 versus her, whether she's the fastest girl or not, like, or really fast, like, he's going to beat her because he's a boy. Like, that's just generally speaking, like, and now you start to get hormones and puberty and all these different things. So I don't think it bothers him too much because I don't think he looks at her, and she, with the boys, plays on the back line. And he is, left wing and striker. So it doesn't, there's not really a direct comparison.
right.
And man, let me say this to you, because I think parents should hear this, especially in soccer that have multiple kids. They are so different, man. I mean, we've put them at left back a few times, and it's we're watching the ball. We're keeping people on sides. Like, we're not paying a lot of attention to the small details. And she's over there yelling at people and moving everyone around. And, and then she'll go up top and she'll look to pass. And we're like, okay, like, and then both of them are like, well, I don't know if I want to play up top. I don't want to play in the back. And we're kind of like, hey, it's really good for you to do those things. Go be uncomfortable. Go learn a different position. Go be different as a parent. Go fail. Because in the long run, if you're failing at 11 or 12 or even 13, someone might look at you one day and go, you're a left back, kid, because we want to play out of the back and you can really run. And, we want you to be switching off, because our formation, this is the London people trying to explain this to me. I don't personally have any idea what they're talking about. They just told me to watch the Alphonso Davies for Canada. That's what they mean. Like, he comes out of the back, and I love it. And I feel the same way about baseball to a degree. Like, you might be an outfielder when you're in high school, but you play shortstop right now. So go play the outfield a little bit. Go. Like, that probably where you'll be. And if you miss a ball, it's okay.
Is there position specialization early in baseball, or when does that usually happen?
Less so. So at 11 and 12, I coach way different than I did at 9 and 10. And I think the biggest reason I did that, it's not because of winning, but like, you can't continually have people making errors. It's just, you have pitch counts. You don't want it, like, you have to have people that can make the plays at those positions. And I told kids that are like, hey, I want to play this position. And I'm like, okay, well, are you putting the work in? Because if you are, then it'll probably show up. Or tell your little league coach, because it's a lot easier. The game's a lot slower than it is in tournament baseball. And we've had some guys work their ways into positions, but it's a little bit more position specific, a little bit at the club stuff. And those bats, dude, oh my God, as a baseball player, those bats are so hot. I mean, you tap a ball, that thing's flying, which isn't always necessarily a great thing.
Are you talking about like metal versus like what?
Yes.
What are you talking?
No, so like, tournament baseball at 13 and below is not what they call a BB core bat. It's a bat where the ball trampolines off. I mean, you tap it and it flies. You can have a really bad
juice.
Yes, you can have a really bad swing and the ball flies. And as a parent, you're trying to find the balance of like, man, I want them to have success, because baseball is a game of failure.
Yeah.
And I want them to like learn how to hit right and have proper, hitting mechanics. So as a coach, it's a balance, man. And as a parent, it's a balance of those things. But even more so in baseball than soccer, the puberty plays a bigger role, man.
Yeah.
It plays a bigger role in baseball.
I can imagine. I can imagine.
Because if you touch a ball with that bat and you weigh 170 pounds as a 12-year-old, that you're hitting home runs. That doesn't even matter what your swing looks like.
I heard somebody put it like only in baseball where
I
you
can't
can
wait to
go
hear this.
where you can do something 30% of the time and make the Hall of Fame.
Yep. Brutal sport.
In soccer, if you win a ball out of the air 30% of the time, you're on the bench.
You're in the stands, actually. You're
exactly right. I mean, maybe a forward, because I obviously there's probably less goals in soccer than hits in baseball, but yeah, I thought that was interesting.
Oh, my wife hates it. As a soccer person, she hates she's like, why do people play this sport? It's boring.
Baseball or soccer?
Baseball.
I think soccer's more boring than baseball.
She's like, soccer's a beautiful sport. No, great ball. And I'm like, well, because we have our 8-year-old plays 10U for baseball because he's a really big kid. And
how big are your kids?
My daughter's probably 5'2", 5'3", 110 pounds, maybe 115 pounds as a 12-year-old.
At 12? Yeah.
Yeah. My son is probably 5 foot, 100 pounds, her twin. And then our 8-year-old's, I don't know how tall he is. He's like 85 pounds. He's massive. Obviously, we've talked about my kids. And I told you before we got on, we spend about a month a year out in London, and they play on a team, and they go to trainings and they do some different things. That's not why we go out there, but we've just built great relationships with some people, that played. One guy played at Fulham, another guy played at Charleston, and the guy's from Brazil, and he's over there, and he played somewhere in Germany, I think. And so they're great people, though, and we've built a great relationship with them. And I was telling you, for everyone to hear this, man, over there, the best coaches they have coach 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 for all the clubs. Like and I'm like, I mean, they're doing stuff with our now 6-year-old where you're like, oh my God, I don't even think we're doing this at 12.
Right.
Why?
I think a lot of it is culture. I think a lot of it is the foundation, the technical foundation that some of those kids over there might already have because they were born into it, that they might have had a ball at their feet from 2 years old, 3 years old, so that you can do more earlier. And then, but it's also just how we look at the game versus how they look at the game. We look at the game as 13 to 19 is the biggest years of development. Them over there, they look at 6 to 12 or maybe even younger now. 6 to 12 is the sweet spot. And that's where, I just partnered with a club here, Michigan Jags, and a guy that I used to coach for was the head coach at University of Detroit. He has A license, everything. You know what he wants to do? He wants to focus on the U6s to U10s because it's like, no, name an A licensed coach that coaches U6, U7, U8, U9 because everybody wants to be Pep. Everybody wants to be Klopp. Everybody wants to be Pochettino. And it's like, it's just so dumb. Like I just can't. It's so important to have somebody that knows what they're doing, but usually it's a first-year coach, somebody right out of college. It's sometimes a parent that maybe played high school, and we're left with the most important years ran by people that don't really know what they're doing, or they don't know, is this going to be like their career? I want the career guys coaching the 6, the 7, the 8-year-olds, the 9-year-olds, because hopefully they see development. But I don't know. Everybody has a different opinion on development too. Some people are technical people. Some people are tactical people. Whereas other sports, it's like, can you like football? Can you run fast? Can you catch a ball? Can you tackle? How's your hand-eye coordination? Whereas soccer, it's just everybody looks at the game differently. Everybody looks at players differently. It's all that subjective stuff that we talked about earlier. And it's very frustrating. And it's upsetting to hear that over there, not only are they generationally ahead of us, because why are your kids ahead? Well, honestly, they're second generation soccer players.
Mm-hmm.
That's a huge factor. Whereas over there, they're probably third generation, fourth generation. So it's even more in their blood. Right. It's even more in their blood. Add a real legit coach at 6. No wonder why our women have been caught like that. We used to just dominate everything. And now, like, I don't know. I feel good about this World Cup, not this summer, but next year's Women's World Cup I feel good about. After that, we might not win again.
Yeah.
Because Spain
we did some things with the London FA. They are really wanting to get the girls at a grassroots level playing more and more and more. And right now, how they kind of do the future Lionesses, which is kind of their national team, sort of their structure.
Yeah.
They only look for girls that play with boys.
Thank you. Yes. Yep. And I think, and I'll be honest with you, I think that the very best girls, they need to be playing with boys, because that's what Mia Hamm did. It was good enough for her. Chloe Ricketts, who's currently in NWSL, she played with boys until 15 years old. And then she played 1 year of GA, and then now she's in the NWSL.
Yeah.
So
it's eye-opening, and again, it doesn't mean that everything we're doing is wrong. By the way, it doesn't also mean, and I love the fact that you say the same thing. There's some really good parent coaches out there that are great for 6 and 7 and 8 year olds. It doesn't mean that because you're a parent coach, you're not doing a good job. And I want to let people know that. But generally speaking, when we go to this Paddington Rec Park, is this big, massive park that the club that we play with over there has some of their team trainings at, and there's other clubs that use it. And man, I'll tell you what, the intensity of the practices for the young kids, my goodness, it is night and day here.
Yeah.
It is night and day. And I'll tell you another thing that's night and day, and this is why I try to tell people in baseball, as you do in soccer, it's a big world out there. 3 years ago, or 2 years ago now, went to my first EPL match.
Yeah.
It was Tottenham and Brentford. And we got there early. It was just me, my wife, and the twins, and kind of go down the field. And I'm just watching them warm up.
Mm-hmm.
And those bodies are different, brother. They're different. Just looking at the bodies, you're like, oh my God. And I'm not taking away anything from MLS, because my son did a lot to earn a trip to go see Messi, who's his favorite player. And we went and saw him. But if you forget anything, if you just look at the bodies between an MLS team and an English Premier League team, they are not even in the same hemisphere of strength, speed, agility, height. Just watching them move, I was like, my God. And not being a soccer person, dude, these people are different genetically too, Jason. If you have the best coaches coaching the youth and they're becoming fans of the sport, they're going to stick with that sport because they like it better. It's not the parents driving it. Besides somebody like me that was out there hurting people the one time I practiced soccer, most people play soccer at least for a year or two. And then they decide to do something else. And, I will give the MLS credit. They are, at least in our area, trying to do a little bit better connecting with the grassroots teams. At least the Portland Timbers are. They are trying to do a better job. Major League Baseball, on the other hand, and as we start, is not doing a good job. The age of their fan is going up every year, which is not good. They're doing a T-ball. You want to talk about boring, Jason? T-ball is, you couldn't pay me to watch a T-ball game. I mean, it is antiquated. It doesn't make sense anymore. You got people, and the kids are not having fun. There's no action because it's gotten so young now. It doesn't matter.
What do you think about some of the changes at the major league level, like with the pitch clock and everything?
It's good. I mean,
I think that's at least getting more people to watch it. I love watching baseball, and it's opening day today, really.
Love it.
Or tomorrow.
It is.
But do you think that could trickle down Because when we see changes in the soccer game, right? Like the goal kick back in the day where you couldn't be inside the 18-yard box. Well, they changed it, FIFA changes it, and then now everybody changes it. You know what I mean? So do
Yeah.
you think that some of those changes can go and trickle down to like the youth game and the high school game? And
If I asked my kids, would you rather watch Banana Ball or Major League Baseball? They're going to pick Banana Ball. They're going to pick Banana Ball. So, and that guy's you want to talk about a genius? That guy's way smarter than all of us. I mean, what a great idea, and I love it. And I think Major League Baseball, I think they're going to strike, because I think you start talking salary cap and these other things. Like, I think this guy, Banana Ball guy, wants to get into youth. He wants to run youth tournaments and leagues. He's going to take a share of the market. He is. It's just it's the nature of kids' attention spans too, brother. I mean, it just is. And but I do think, and I've said this, and God, I hope you don't hate me for saying this. I think if you forced every kid from 5 to 12 to make soccer their main sport in the United States, can't play anything else, can only play soccer, we would destroy other countries. I firmly do believe that. I do.
Even without the coaching thing, though? Even without coaching?
What I would say is you're also drawing the best coaches to do that.
Right.
I think is a parallel. But to our athletes are the best in the world. I stand by that firmly. But there's some really good athletes, and I was talking to somebody over there. I think he's with the London FA, or he does some part-time scouting. Really nice guy. When I was in London, if Africa poured money into and I got to call it football because this guy told me never to call it soccer around him. But by the way, I'm screwed over there, because if I say football, they give me a weird look with my accent, and they're like, "Do you mean soccer?" I go, "Yeah, but if I call it soccer, I'm screwed." So I do mean your football, because if somebody went to Kenya and goes, "Here's $100 million for soccer for the whole country," Kenya would.
You're right.
I mean, within 5 years, it'd be one of the best countries in the world.
1,000%. I mean, Ghana has already beaten us twice in the World Cup. You know, I mean, yeah, I 100% agree with that.
So do you think we have a cultural issue
more
than we have a – yeah, there you go. No.
I think culture is the number one leading factor. But then it's just like stupid little stuff that happens in soccer that doesn't happen in other sports.
Give me an example.
Coaches demanding that they only play soccer.
Oh, dude.
Does baseball coaches do that?
Sometimes,
no, because you know what?
But they do sometimes. Yes, absolutely.
But they're usually three-sport athletes. They're football, basketball, and baseball.
But you cannot play 3 sports
anymore. Is that gone?
I hate it because I played 3. I lettered in 3 sports, and God, man, I got to stop saying. My producer's gonna get pissed at me. I got to stop saying that because I keep getting cooked online every time I say it. And listen, okay, we'll get into it. We'll get into this. My son plays baseball and soccer, which, by the way, are the 2 worst sports to play together. They do not mix with the seasonality. They just don't.
No.
And one of the reasons I coach is to control the schedule, because on my baseball team and on his pre-ECNL or ECNL team, there's 3 guys that do both.
Okay.
And 2 of his best friends. So I control the schedule so they can do both. I hate March and I hate April because we're trying to, yes, exactly. I'm moving tournament schedules around for baseball and schedule so that they can be at everything they're exhausted. And we had to sit my son down. And it kind of breaks my heart to say this too, and go, doesn't mean you have to play one sport, because you can play 2. You have to lean into a sport, buddy. If you want to be a soccer player, you have to lean into a sport. You want to be a baseball player, you got to lean into a sport. Doesn't mean you can't play the other one. But ECNL, where we live, there's like no local teams. Everything's in Seattle. It's a 2-3 hour drive. You got a team in Boise. You physically can't do both. The other thing is you have to get reps in that sport outside of your team training.
Yes. Because
as great as an athlete as you are, you're going to get past, because there's going to be great athletes, because Seattle's got better soccer players than we do down here. And we brought it up maybe 10 months ago. He started crying because he loves both sports. And I go, It doesn't mean you have to stop playing the other one. That's not what we're saying. But you cannot play both at the same level you're playing at right now. You physically can't be at two places at once.
Right.
And we're not going to run you into the ground for sports. We're just not going to do it. So this is a couple of nights ago. He's an okay hitter. He's a really good shortstop. He's a good pitcher, loves to run the bases. And he goes, I think I really want to do ECNL and I just want to pitch. And I go, okay, I love it. And the good news, Jason, you can do those two things, because when you're a pitcher only, you show up the games you throw essentially. And all those movements and a lot of the hip mobility and the different things you're doing with your body help both sports as a pitcher.
Exactly.
So I'm really proud of him, because we let him make the call. We go, if you want to do both, like, and hit and play shortstop, then you're not going to be ECNL. You're going to drop down a level or two. And
Right.
you cannot play 70 baseball games or 60 baseball games. You can play 40.
Right.
It's up to you. I hated having that conversation, though, brother.
Yeah.
That hurt. It didn't feel good as a parent. It pissed me off.
It's a conversation that wouldn't happen 30 years ago.
No chance. But it's one that is probably warranted. And my daughter is playing softball. My daughter just played basketball. She said what sport she's playing, though. She's like, I want to be a soccer player, and I want to do this, and here's my goals. But I hate to say this, playing little league softball, she's not on a club team. She was last year for softball. It was too much. Is not a big ask right now for this year. Yeah, you
Right.
practice once, maybe twice a week. You got a game or two. There's not a lot of physical toll. She wants to be with her friends, which is awesome. But next year, she's not going to be able to play even that in softball. She won't. There won't even be enough time for that. For
Why? It seems like, and I just had this conversation earlier, the professionalism that's taking over soccer, or at least maybe all of these sports. But it's like, why are we treating these kids like professional athletes? It's like, why do they have to go 7 days a week? Why do they have to have a training to game ratio of 8 to 1? You know, that's what we're shoved. And they don't.
They don't.
What do you, I mean,
they don't.
Why is it so national? Why is it so national?
So here's what's funny, because I haven't heard you talk about this at all, but I bet you we are aligned. Okay. Well, one, I'll say in Europe, they don't play tournaments. They play in leagues, and then they do their training. But you know, one thing they focus on once they start to hit about 14, 13, 14, 15, and this is something that for our household, we're telling them is just as important as the training and the games. It's definitely not as fun. What are you doing to your body? And it doesn't mean lift weights at 12, but are you doing hip mobility? Yep. Are you doing some core exercises just to get used to doing them? Because it's, the testosterone hasn't hit, those things hasn't hit as much, but that is just as important, if not more so, than any training and any game if you want to be an elite athlete. Are you doing ACL prevention stuff in soccer? My wife is all over that.
Right. Our bodies were not meant to throw a ball 90 miles per hour. Our bodies were not meant to kick a ball. Like, it wasn't meant to do that. Our hips were never designed to do that to ourselves. Correct. And you better be taking care of yourself. And that's part of the overuse, because everybody wants to train 3 days a week in every sport. And it's like, well, okay, then when's an off day? I had a talk with a girl. She is GA. She is a 2013, so a year older than the twins. Okay. This conversation happened right around Thanksgiving of last year, right? I go, you seem tired. When was your last off day? She goes, Halloween. It's like 27 days ago. You haven't had an off day? She's like, no, I've had something every single day for the last 27 days. And it's like, well, there we go, And she's one sport athlete. Imagine if she played two.
Oh.
That's all soccer. And it's the dad sending her to me, technical training. It's their club training, and then it's another technical trainer, and then it's physical fitness. And it's just like, dude, she will, and she's like a smaller girl. It's like, she'd probably grow if you just gave her like 2 weeks off and just let her sleep.
Yeah. God, my goodness, bro. And
yeah.
It's okay. It's okay, especially if you're doing multi-sport and you have this convergence where there's overlap. It's okay to tell a coach, hey, we're taking a day off. It's okay to say that.
Nope. No, it's not. No,
it is
no.
though.
Well, you're not playing. That's the crap that they'll say to you. Well, you're not playing this week. What's your dedication to the team?
My dedication is honestly, and I'd love to look at some. Exactly. I'd love to look at some coaching station that say that and go, I'm actually going to be better because all I did was stretch and foam roll and sleep and get a really good night's sleep and a good meal. I'm actually going to be better for the team. And I have told, multiple people for baseball, and say, hey, man, if you miss, we'll be fine. You missing a practice ain't going to make a lick of difference in the long run. Just make sure you're working on things, majority of the stuff. And honestly, go play catch then, keep your arm loose, and you'll be fine. You'll be good. But I'm in the minority. I mean, and I say this to coaches: stop trying to make people feel bad for missing a practice. I mean, but again, you're for people like yourself, Jason, me, my wife, people that played. You're not going to intimidate me and scare me into letting my kid go miss a practice because I know it's not important in the long run at 10 years old. You're not going to intimidate me.
What major leaguer, what national team player remembers a game when they were 12? Very rarely. Sure, I maybe remember the earliest game that I remember, I was maybe 13, maybe 14. But I couldn't tell you how I felt. Like, do you remember a practice? I certainly don't remember a practice.
Only because my dad coached some of the teams. I brought it up in a basketball thing. I have some really great memories. But if my dad didn't coach the team, I probably wouldn't remember as much. Then I do remember a basketball practice, Jason. Hey, this is actually a funny story because the times were so different. I was really good at basketball, and my dad sent me to the Boys and Girls Club away from our little town team. And the Boys and Girls Club had the true Fonts who played in the NFL, all three of them. And the middle one was on my team. I was playing a grade up. I was the only white person there. And so I was terrified. And it was like the third practice. And we weren't having a good practice. And the guy leading the team, who ended up being a good friend of mine, he's like, anyone that gives up a point to the guy they're guarding is going to get punched in the stomach. And I'm like, oh my God. I tell you, I didn't even look to score. As soon as I got the ball, I passed and then ran to my guy to make sure he couldn't even touch the ball because I didn't want to get punched by these guys, because the Boys and Girls Club is a rougher place. And man, I told my kids that story a couple months ago, and they're like, what do you mean? I go, man, people really competed back then in very different ways.
Oh boy.
And, we were really good for Tacoma, Washington. We go up to Seattle, play those best teams. And, in basketball, I was recruited by University of Portland actually before baseball. So I was a really good basketball player. I played AAU basketball too, in high school and played select baseball. So you could do it back then. You can't do it now. But it's very different. The mentality, a lot of the best players all played on the same team. The coaching was even a little bit different. And that Boys and Girls Club team, we weren't paying a ton of money. Those people had nothing. A lot of the people on that team had single parent homes. They'd go to the Boys and Girls Club regardless if they play basketball because there's nowhere else to go. A lot of them had really, really hard lives after high school. And some of them aren't with us anymore. But those experiences, I only remember that one practices, but I do remember the experiences, Jason.
Yeah.
Of playing on that team and how it shaped my life.
What happened to our competitiveness? I know it's like everybody gets a trophy and all that stuff, but did that really change it? That changed parent.
It's
What
not
changed?
fair. It's
Was it
not
our
fair.
parent? Yeah.
Yes, it's not fair.
Is it
That's
the
what.
parent?
Yes. Yes. It's not.
Who is leading that though? Is it the non-athletes?
Yes.
Think about it. Think about the people that we grew up with that didn't play any sports. They're the ones leading this charge of everybody gets a trophy.
100%.
Maybe.
100%. Well, but they're also living vicariously. A lot of them are trying to, you know. So I'll ask you this question. Ask you this question for soccer. So we're at the pre-ECNL tournament or whatever, and I'm going to tell you the people that talk. And we played a few California clubs. It was really great. And this isn't a knock on all the teams we played, whatever. But the loudest people, the most obnoxious, the people that yelled at the officials, that talked crap to our side in one of the games, were the most unathletic looking people on the other team. And even a few members of our side do it sometimes. And I'm like, I just want to bury my head of like, what are you you didn't even play. Like, and you don't have to play to know what you're talking about. I'm a firm believer that there's some great people I've been around that didn't play.
I agree with that.
Like, and you started coaching at 19, so you stopped playing very early on. Doesn't mean that you're not great at what you do. I don't want to disparage anybody for that, because I know some great baseball people. That one guy's gonna be a big league manager. He played at very low end Division III. Yeah, and he's one of my really good friends.
Yeah,
but the reason he's the number one coach for the New York Mets on the bench is because he learned when to dive into this is what we need to do, but not try to draw parallels of like, well, I'm telling you what to do. Because if he did that, those big league guys would have been like, dude, don't even come at me with that.
Yeah.
But why are the people like, and it doesn't mean you can't say anything, but like, soccer is notorious for just the craziest stuff being yelled out, and at sort of the kids. That doesn't happen as much in baseball. The umpires get ridden a lot more in baseball.
Yeah.
Than soccer. The one thing I'll say about soccer, man, the refs are way too touchy, at least where we're from. Like, you can't, the ball went the other way, and they're like blowing their whistle and like yelling at you. You're like, dude, no one. What? Tell me about that, because I've been dying to ask you that. Like,
I never actually reffed. I never was into it, and I was always hard on parents for being hard on refs, because we needed, especially young refs. If it was a young, good ref, I would almost protect them, because I'm like, I want you to stay as a ref. I don't want you to leave. And so I'd get on parents only if I felt a player's was in danger of getting injured. I always ask for explanations on cards and stuff like that. Like, if somebody got a card for like saying something, I made refs tell me what they said. And I'm like, okay. Sometimes I would treat yellow cards like red cards. It's like, if you swear at a ref, you're done. I'm done with you. Like, you're sitting next to me for the rest of the game, because this is dumb. But it's like, if I yell about this call right now, yeah, I might get a makeup call, but it's not going to change what just happened. But I'm not going to go ballistic on the sideline. It's like, is he going to be like, you know what? You guys are right. I'm going to change my call. Like, no, right. So, but I mean, I might say something a little sarcastic to make sure that I get the next call. But parents don't need to say anything. They certainly don't want to hear from parents.
Correct. For sure. But there's a balance of like, I agree with you, but like, God, the occasional, let's go. Like, let's just let it go. Because what happens here is then they like pause it, and then they start like going like
coming and yelling at you.
And I'm like, not me. The only time that I get pissed at a youth sporting event, and it's happened twice in soccer and once in baseball, is when I feel like the safety is gone and they have no control over what's happening.
No control of the game. Yep.
I don't care who the official is. I don't care. And whether it's at my kid or not my kid, I will go ballistics when that happens. I don't. I will stand by that. It happened in the fall, and me and like a couple other parents. He's like, "You guys need to go," and I go, "I will leave. I have no problem leaving. You got this person down. You got that person kicked in the head. No one knows when the whistle's being blown." And he's like, you guys are a cancer. I go, this is not safe at all. I mean, my daughter got complete, and it wasn't the kids being malicious to one another. It was prepubescent kids, half of them, pubescent kids, half of them, in a rainy game on a Sunday morning.
Not able to control their bodies.
Yes, and you don't know when to blow the whistle. The coaches are riding you. You're pissed at everybody. You apparently, I found this out later, used to coach at our club, hates our club. So had already,
always good.
It already had started with him and the other coach. I guess you used to coach together. And I'm like, okay, like, so you just threw gasoline on the fire, and I went berserk. I mean, and we knew kids on the other team too. And, my son did something just with his body he shouldn't have done. And there was like no foul, no warning, nothing. And I'm like, I 100% of the time, whether, I didn't cuss, I yelled very loudly, louder than I should. And I told my kids, I was like, I could have handled it calmer. And I apologize for that. But my daughter was like, your message is 100% right. Like even the players were like, oh man, this isn't very safe. Like bodies are just flying everywhere. And so there was a baseball game that was very similar to that, where one of our players took a player out at the plate, and it was not handled correctly, and I had to like step in there and handle it, and then they got mad at me handling it, and it so sorry for this.
No,
you're the expert, not me.
I am not an expert.
But I think that it's so important for people to hear your message, man. And I truly say that for me, as somebody that loves watching your clips and listening to your stuff from a soccer perspective, because I don't know what's going on, man. I really don't. And I'm just trying to support my kids in a positive fashion.
Yeah. And I don't know what's going on.
There you go.
That's why I'm trying to just talk to as many people as possible, because then it'll eventually maybe paint a good picture. But the picture is not even close to being done.
Correct. And it's gray too. It's not the picture, as good as a job as we can do with what we're trying to do for sports. It's always going to be gray, guys.
Yeah.
It's always going to be gray, because if you grow up in Michigan, it looks different than you grow up in Washington State, California, Florida, Texas.
Absolutely.
Buffalo. Yeah. So as we wrap up here, Ed, we're going to get you on again.
Yeah, for sure.
And I would love eventually to get on your show as well, because I think what you're doing is amazing. And, I bring a very novice approach to this, but one where like, I don't have it figured out. I'm willing to learn. I want to listen to shows like yours. So, talk to the array of people, the novice parents, the parents starting out, the parents that have been in it for a while, the parents think they got it figured out, the parents that don't. Give us your final insight into, the best advice. And again, you just said it, no one's an expert, which is a great line, but just from your perspective, for all those range of people, go on a rant. Go on a rant about your best advice for the parents that are trying to survive youth sports in the soccer space.
It's pretty simple. We always complain about who gets left behind. With all these adults in the room, who usually gets left behind? The players. Make sure that your kid, make sure you talk to them and make sure that they're still enjoying it. And if they don't enjoy it, allow them to try other things. That's it. I mean, you talked about the conversation you had the other night with your son. There needs to be more of that, not less. There needs to be more. And it's a difficult conversation that how many people around the country aren't having. That's what I'm worried about. And just talk to your kids. Talk and just make sure that they're having fun. It's really that simple. And youth sports shouldn't be that hard. It shouldn't be that hard to have fun. God. Yeah.
Between Surviving You Sports and I Hate Soccer, I
Yeah.
would say that, you know, it is professionalized to the degree where we have names of podcasts like this. And you know, we're able to get on a platform to be able to discuss it because it isn't fun enough sometimes. I'm going to add one thing to what you just said, and I want your take on this because you've obviously been around high-level athletes, and
Yep.
so have I, and, you know, played. And, man, I spent so much time in a training room and I wasn't healthy, and I have my wife, same thing, dings, and you probably have people you've trained and coached and played with and against that whose bodies aren't great or who had to go through unbelievable amount of stuff that is not pleasant. Getting released, I can tell you, as a professional athlete, is at 20 something years old is, oh my God, what am I going to do? All right, I got to call my parents, like get their perspective. Okay. What am I going to do for money? Like, you watch TV, MLS, EPL, all those things, and you see the oh, this guy makes $100 million, dude. That and what they have to go through to get there is a lot, and you don't see the 98.9% of other people that played with those guys who, you know, can't straighten their leg, whose hips are done, and it's not to say that it's scary. I'm not trying to scare people off, but like, it is a brutal to play college and professional sports at times on your body, on your mental psyche, on everything. And you want to make sure they're passionate about it. Even if they're good enough to go do that.
Yeah.
Don't you want them to love their life?
You have to. If you don't have that, you don't have anything, I think. And that's one of the reasons
100%.
why I tried to leave coaching for what I was doing. Just didn't love it anymore. You know, I became more passionate about this, you know, and I have tons and tons of coaches that I have had on here that say, I'm just trying to get off the field. I'm so burnout. And burnout is real. For sure. Burnout is real.
And and for the people that are struggling with some of those things, it's okay. Your path isn't just like this. Whether it's baseball or soccer, it can be like this and this and that. And if you're passionate about it and you're having fun, you know, stick with it. Survive, right? Survive the hard times.
Absolutely.
Well,
Survive.
Jason, this has been great for me. This is selfishly, like, this has been amazing.
Yeah.
For me, thank you for coming on and taking the time to talk about. Yeah. I mean, we didn't even talk about enough from my perspective. So
schedule me again.
It's amazing. Yeah, let's do it. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, continue doing what you're doing, man. You're helping a lot of people.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks for joining us on Surviving You Sports. Remember, the scoreboard may tell a different story, but the snacks, the car rides, and the questionable coaching decisions, that's where the real memories and the real survival skills come from. Please share, subscribe, and follow us.